Hi guys, and welcome to my kitchen. Today I am going to be showing you how to make beef empanadas. Now these empanadas are so good. They're a phenomenal meal if you want something a little bit special, a little bit something out of the ordinary. We're going to be making them from scratch, so we're going to be making our dough, we're going to be making the filling fresh. It does take a little bit of time since we are doing the whole thing from scratch, but it's really good. And there are multiple ways that you can cook them. So today I am going to show you my method for frying them, but you don't have to stick to that. You can actually bake these as well, or you can fry them with less oil. So you can fry them, but not so that they're like floating in oil, more like you're putting a layer of oil in there, but they're still on the bottom of the pan. That's going to give you a little bit of a deeper, darker coating to them than just the frying method. But any way you go with this, these are going to be delicious. So let's get started.
So the first thing we're going to do is saute half of a chopped onion with 2 garlic cloves in a little bit of avocado oil. And then I added in 1 pound of ground beef. You could absolutely do half a pound though. This makes plenty of filling. And then we are going to add in 1 6-ounce can of tomato paste in there. And then we're going to add a little bit of liquid. Now, I just used the water that I drained off from my can of corn, but you can just use water here. We just want it to be nice and moist, have a little bit of sauciness to it. For spices, we're doing 1 teaspoon of dark chili powder, 1 teaspoon of salt, 1 teaspoon of black pepper, and 2 teaspoons of cumin. Now, I realize that this is a lot of spices, but basically we're making our own taco seasoning blend. We are going to do half a teaspoon of allspice, and then a teaspoon of Mexican oregano. If you don't have the Mexican, that's fine. Just use regular dried oregano. 1 teaspoon of garlic powder and 1 teaspoon of onion powder. And that's basically going to make up our little taco seasoning blend here. And if that's looking too dry, just add a little bit more of that liquid in here. And now we're going to add in our can of corn, and you can kind of just eyeball this. If you want it to have less corn, you can use less. For our dough, we are going to be using 2.5 cups of just regular all-purpose flour, and my filling is off of the heat now, so it's just sitting there. We're going to use 1 teaspoon of baking powder and a sprinkle of salt, about half a teaspoon, I would say, just to give us that nice flavor. And just going to mix that in, and then we want to use some warm water here. Now, I had about 1 3/4 cups of warm water here that I used, but basically you want to just add it bit by bit. What you want to end up with is a nice cohesive dough. It's still going to be kind of sticky. It's not going to, like, you can see my hand there. It's not fully pulling away, so it's going to be pretty soft, but it is like one cohesive piece of dough, and that's the stage that you want it at. So just add enough water for that. And then I'm just going to flour my counter here and roll out that dough. Now the dough is pretty forgiving, so if you find that you get it a little bit too wet and it's kind of gloopy, just add a little bit more flour, and vice versa. If you find that it's a little bit too dry, just add a little bit more water. So it's pretty forgiving. And then just roll this out. You don't want it too thick, but you also don't want it too thin. You just want to do like a nice medium thickness. Too thick is going to result in very puffy empanadas, and they are delicious, but it's mostly just the dough that you get. So go ahead and get some oil started, and you want to bring that oil up to a good frying temperature. And then we're just going to cut these out. And I used my biggest cutter here to cut them. And then I like to kind of stretch the dough a bit before I put in my filling. So I'm just going to put in like about a tablespoon's worth of filling into my empanada, and then just kind of stretch that top over there and take a fork and crimp those sides really, really good, because if you don't get it crimped well enough, it's gonna kind of burst open in your frying oil. Once your oil is up to temperature, just go ahead and slide these guys on in, and you want to just do probably about 3 to 4 at a time. And you're going to just turn them over when they start getting dark on the one side, probably about 4 minutes each side, and that's what they look like.